All right, it is Friday, March 20th, 2026, and we are going to be discussing the Ben Rennick case today, and we're going to show how, in this case, how the beta male plow horse it seems to not be respected. And I'll say seems, it's just my opinion. People can make their own judgments, but it falls in line with the prior 4 cases I've done, and how the alpha seed side of sexual relationships seems to be much more, for lack of a better term, beneficial or profitable for men, and I would follow that strategy in my opinion. And these cases I don't think are one-offs. When there's a pattern, human beings recognize patterns, so so the Ben Rennick case, Ben Rennick and his brother Sam, they lived on a farm, a 70-acre farm. They inherited it from their father. They had kind of bad luck in the beginning of their lives. Their mom died of cancer, unfortunately, after a long, hard battle, and their dad, he had, I think it was a pet care business, which he did really well. He had lots of money from that, and but unfortunately, he apparently got involved in like a Ponzi scheme, and he was taking money from people, and he was going to get busted on that. So he ended up self-deleting himself, and Sam unfortunately discovered him, but he had taken care of all his affairs at that point, and he basically gave the boys the farm. So they inherited a 70-acre farm, which was good, and they had such a blast on that farm when they were kids. They hunted, I believe it, just all kinds of things, ATVs and fishing and all that stuff. So like I said, and it was in Missouri. This is all in Missouri. And so later on in life, well, because Sam and Ben inherited the farm, they also lived on the farm, and they built a nice home on the farm. They're nice homes on the farm, and they raised their families there. And then Ben was really into like snakes when he was young, and he was so into it, he got into snake breeding as he got older, as a career, as a profession, and he did very well. He was world-renowned snake breeder. It was Rennick Reptiles, and he was in the process, when he was murdered, he was in the process of selling the business to a famous athlete. They didn't say who, but and he had just received a $200,000 payment, but the full payment was going to be $1.2 million. And that was only for half of his collection, and he was known for his ball pythons, I believe. But so yeah, he was very skilled in his job. I mean, top breeder, and I don't think he was skilled. And this is not a knock on him. It's like we've seen before. These men are very capable, that I've talked about before, but they don't seem to be capable in reading women and their respect for them. And like I say, there need to be alpha. There need to have that swag, that assertiveness, that dominance, and that's all internal. That's all internal, practices. But yeah. So he ends up. He met his wife, who will eventually be convicted of his murder. But he meets his wife when he's like 10. He's a drummer in a band, and they hang out for a little while, just friends, and they lose touch, which is fine. But they liked each other or whatever. And Lindley ends up being involved with another man as she gets older, and she has a child with him. And sounds like that wasn't the best relationship. While she's pregnant, he goes to a bar, gets severely intoxicated, ends up having a car accident, severely injuring people, and then he gets sentenced to prison for 10 years, the father of her first child, Matthew. And so Lindley then realized, she has to go back home and live with her father. And then she meets another guy, Michael Humphrey, who will also be convicted for Ben Rennick's murder. and he was with Lindley, obviously co-conspirator, and he is there. You know, he's a pain pill guy, one of those pain pill guys. He gets addicted to that. Lindley gets addicted to that, and they have a toxic relationship. And it seems like Lindley tends to have toxic relationships with men, and you know, just in my opinion, she likes the bad boy, that type thing. So she ends up getting addicted to pain pills herself. Then she has an experience one night where it was just a real bad experience. She said it could have been, you know, life-threatening or whatever, and she had a child now, and she needed to be more responsible, which is great. So she leaves Michael Humphrey and returns home to her father. And it's in this time here, and this is important for men to realize. In this time, she's done this. Now, Ben doesn't know that she's done this. Ben Rennick doesn't know that all this has happened. He apparently sees her on Facebook, which, you know, I think everybody does, and, you know, sees old friends or whatever, and he's single, and she's very cute, you know, and I have eyes, and so he reaches out to her. I guess she did a quiz off of Facebook. I'm not sure what that is, but he sends her a message like, hey, what's up? You know, we know what that is. But the issue with sending that DM is, you know, you don't know what that person's been going through, what's going on, you know. So, you know, that's just a cautionary tale. This is a cautionary tale. So, so anyway, you know, she's like, hey, what's up? I guess, whatever. And they reconnect. Well, you know, it's like the perfect storm to a certain degree, because Ben's looking for a girlfriend. She's very cute. I'm sure he was attracted to her when younger. And she's just broke up with her jerk boyfriend and living with Dad. I'm sure living with Ben in his nice house, you know, with a thriving business, or, you know, up and coming business at least, would be much better, you know. So, and that's where beta males get got. When a woman is maybe down on her luck, or, you know, looking to settle down, for lack of a better term, and you know, now she's the whole alpha seed, you know, deal is, they don't care about that anymore. They want that beta male provider, you know. But the thing is, and it's not their fault. They know what's good or bad, but it's like they don't even realize they want what they want, and they don't even realize, like, you know, maybe when they get back on their feet, they're not going to like you or respect you. You know what I mean? So, yeah, so anyway, so they get together, and there's one part in there where, you know, I guess she first comes over to Ben's house, and, you know, he's made a spare room for her stepson, and, you know, she says how he was so doting on her stepson, you know, which it's nice, but, you know, oftentimes, you know, especially with beta male, it's, you know, I've seen, you know, what was the Jerry Maguire? I can't really say something to Pootie or something. Anyway, I don't know. But anyway, it's basically using the kid to win favor with the woman, you know, and that's what beta males do. They try to go indirect. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get flowers. I'm gonna get chocolates. I'm gonna get ring. I'm gonna give gifts. I'm gonna, you know, get in. I'm gonna show her how good I am with her son. Look, gifts, being awesome with her son. You know, I mean, she might like that, but there's an alpha seed out there, guy, who could give two craps about her son, and she banged the hell out of him. Way better than bang the hell out of you beta male. It is what it is. Not bad. It's not bad. It's just the way life is. Learn it, know it, you know. And it's not authentic usually, because usually I would admit myself, we don't want the kid around. It's just true. We don't want to be, you know, and that's fine. But you know, you're lying to yourself. You're kind of a fraud, you know. But anyway, so that kind of wins her over. Things move fast. She ends up moving into Ben's house, and they have a child themselves, a daughter. And Sam, I'm sorry, I keep saying Sam. Ben is now, you know, thriving in his business. Rennick Reptiles is kicking butt, you know. He's going to trade shows. I mean, he's like I said, world known. He's known all over the world. And like I said, he was selling it, half of it for $1.2 million, just half, you know. So, and he was very proud of it, as he should be. And that goes to show you, just because you're good in one area of life does not mean you'll be good in all areas of life. And sometimes those who are really good in one area of life, like superstars, sometimes that's, a downfall, So anyway, but, so Ben, like I said, he's got a 35 square foot facility on his property on the farm, and it's full of snakes. I mean, just full of it. You see it in the show, but it's just ceiling to floor snakes. And Lindley is there. She's helping him. She's a massage therapist, so she's kind of helping on the side. And after a while, she realizes Ben needs help. He needs help, in the business. But one thing about snakes, apparently, I learned in the show, is that they're very labor intensive. So you got to clean. You're constantly working. You're making money, but it's a lot of work to also make that money. No problem, right? So anyway, she quits her job as a massage therapist, and she comes to help him. And they're kicking butt for a little while, and after a while, Lindley doesn't want to be helping him no more. She wants to, go do her own thing. So anyway, she kind of resents being part of the business anymore, and she tells Ben that she wants to open a spa. She's a massage therapist, and open like a day spa. And Ben's kind of like, I don't know, And they go to their financial advisor, but he thought that the financial advisor would say no. And the financial advisor's like, well, if you want to do it, go ahead. And he's like, I guess he's like, okay. So they end up doing it. So the spa is called Essentia Spa. It's a day spa. It's 45 minutes away. And, but Ben puts up the money for the spa, okay? And so a problem with the spa is that it is constantly losing money. And Ben is constantly putting money into the business. Lindley's very irresponsible. She likes to be doing massage therapy, but she's irresponsible with the books and stuff like that. So doesn't pay bills on time, and she was keeping a lot of this information from Ben, and Ben's getting frustrated. So anyway, and then so they're starting to have problems in the marriage, and so Ben's like, he doesn't feel respected. He doesn't feel loved. He's bailing out her business all the time. And he doesn't feel like she's respecting him. And Lindley's also kind of like, hey, she's like an extroverted person. She's out here on this farm, and she's like, she wants to kind of, she's not happy, but they're trying anyway. But after a while, Lindley gets so I guess disgusted of the marriage and of the situation. She feels like the best way to solve her problems is to murder her husband. And she kind of invoked some help from the manager of her day spa. She was kind of close friends with her. It was I believe her name was Amber Shaw, and so she kind of invokes her help. And so anyway, so their first idea, which didn't go well. She got like Percocet, so I think which is like a painkiller, a heavy painkiller. And so they crush them up, and she makes protein shakes, and she blends up, I believe, 15 of them in this protein shake, and she makes one for Ben and one for herself. And obviously, Buffalo Bayou, obviously she doesn't put any in hers, right? So they have these protein shakes, and they're drinking them, and Ben gets sick. He gets very sick, I guess, from I guess that was too high level of a dose of Percocets. So he starts having diarrhea and vomiting, like, for a while that night. Well, Lindley's not stupid. She's a manipulator, and she also acts like she's sick too. Oh, we both got poisoned. Oh, what the luck, Ben. Oh my God, I'm poisoned too. So Ben sends a buddy a message. They got the text message because you get the text messages, during the trial. And he tells a friend, man, something funny happened last night, kind of like joking about it, I think I got poisoned or something like that, And he says, well, we both did, or we both got poisoned, and kind of laughing about it. And he's like, it was terrible, blah, blah, blah. Well, she sends the lady that was helping her, she sends her a message saying it didn't work. So, I mean, diabolical, dude. I can't fathom that stuff. But, so, here's this guy, he's giving you a daughter. He's been, and everyone describes him as a great guy. You can kind of tell he's a great guy. They do an interview with him. He knows his stuff as far as snakes. Nice guy, cool dude, right? They've got money. Money ain't a problem. Their house is paid for because it's on the farm, and the land of it's paid for. And so she got everything. Ben's world renowned in snake business as status, so he's got the money, the status. It's like, what is it? What are they talking about? Looks, money, status? Well, he's got the money and the status. So, but anyway, if that worked, if money and status were it, then he should be, pimp. He should be Pimp G, Ben. Not Ben trying to get murdered by my wife. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, yeah, so that happens. And so then now she got to think of a different plan, right? And in the meantime, Ben is, this goes back to similar to the Michael Williams case, but Ben gets upset that he doesn't feel loved, and when a man's not having sexual intimacy, it's really hard for him. They don't, men, that's a part of manhood. When our woman is wanting us sexually, it's the way we connect, and they often say, oh, well, women connect through sexual life. They do not. Women don't care enough. It's hard to make this make sense, but because sex they can always have it, it's not as big a deal each time they have it or whatever, or if they're not having it, because usually, they don't have a problem having it. So it's like anything in abundance, you're like, yeah, here's a bottle of water. Nah, okay, cool, thanks, But you get a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue, whoa, that's it's scarce, it's valuable, right? So, that's a good analogy. But the point is men, it's sometimes seen in scarcity, right? So that's why they're like, ooh, I'm liked by this person, And so anyway, so men that aren't having sex are often depressed, often feel like crap. So you never should be in a sexless marriage. Do not be in one. And if you are in one, your chick don't like you. Get out. Get the hell out. Any guy out there needs to get the hell out of that. Because a woman that likes you will want sex with you. It's important to women. One time, just an aside, digressing. One time I was talking to a lady. Like I said, I've dated a lot. And I said, what's a long time for you to go without sex? Like a month or two, So she goes, oh my God, no, I can't do that. If I go 2 weeks. Now ask a dude, how many dudes have gone without sex for 2 weeks? That's a lot, way longer than that. So, so this lady was literally freaking out. Like she would have to go longer than 2 weeks. So just, lodge that back in the brain there. So moving on. So Ben, reaches out to his wife and tells her about this. Hey, look, I've been a good guy. You need to, I would like for you to kind of want to sleep with me. I think we need to do that more. And this still spa business you got, we ain't doing the spa business, the way, because I'm losing too much money. And, I need to feel loved, love me, And so, anyway, so she's like, I guess she kind of manipulates or whatever. She's a manipulator. So she first says that she try to push it back on Ben, and she says he sexually assaulted her, and he did that by One night she will, and this again is a common tactic. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but a common tactic of women trying to manipulate men or people in their lives will say they've been being abused when it doesn't happen. I have several other cases where women have lied about their abuse and gotten maybe a lover or a sexual affair partner to do violence on their behalf because they thought they were being abused, which, that was only their allegation, because they know men want to protect them, So she says that Ben, who was her husband at the time, was trying to have sex with her in the middle of the night. Now, who knows what's true and what's not true? But first of all, she's his wife. Secondly, it sounds like she was, making up a story to me, but who knows? We don't know. So anyway, and actually, it may have happened, but not in the way she said it happened, because Ben did apologize for whatever happened. So I think it had been a while probably for him, and so he was just hoping to do the, midnight massage, and whatever. And she didn't take kindly to it. Well, that's fine. And he apologized, and it ended there. And so anyway, this is diabolical. So going on with the story, July 8th, 2017. I think it's July 8th, 2017. Lindley and Ben decided, you know what? And Lindley, decided that we're gonna have a date night, and we're gonna go watch the movie Wonder Woman, and we need to reconnect. You're right, because I haven't been loving you, and I haven't been, sleeping with you. So yes, let's go have a night. Let's get date night, which is ridiculous. I think date nights are ridiculous. You should have such a good relationship where, date nights are going on all the time. Whatever. Anyway, he ends up. Sorry, I let that go by. But anyway, part kind of sucks with so many people. But anyway, so he ends up having that date night, and she's like, "Well, let's go to the movie Wonder Woman," and so she's like so excited about this. He's gonna get special treatment, and get to go. He's hoping obviously to have sex with his wife that night, and she even kind of pumps him up. She starts sending him naked pictures of herself, and he's like, and he says, "I fucking love you." And men are so terrible. He said that, "I fucking love you," when he saw the naked pictures, because we do when we're with our loved ones, the one we love. Your sexuality to us is very important. So anyway, so then he says that, and she's like, "Oh, thank you," or some crap, and "I wish I could be naked with you all day, but I have to work," whatever, something, she says she knows how to manipulate. But really what her plan is she's not going on the date. She has now elicited help from Michael Humphrey. She shows up at Michael Humphrey's house the day prior, and they planned his murder. So this is a diabolical thing. Lindley gets a gun from Michael Humphrey, and she is going to go to Ben's. He's working at his steak place on the farm, and the date's supposed to be at 5:45, and but they show up at like 3:45 or 3 something, and she shows up with Mike, and Ben's working, and he's coming out of the steak facility with some trash, and just think about it. You're coming out of your business or whatever with some trash, just doing your thing, and looking forward to your date tonight. Well, then your girl shows up with some dude, and he was, I don't know if she wanted him to do it or what, the actual murder, but anyway, she says to Ben, "Hey Ben, this is my friend Mike from high school." She's lying, and he wants to buy a steak. Well, they don't sell snakes from the place. That's not. They go to stores, or they go to big conventions. They deal with dealers. They deal with people who have money. They don't just show up. That's not a place to sell snakes. But anyway, and so Mike's like, what the hell? Ben's like, what the hell? Like, okay, he don't want to ruin his date night. So anyway, see, he takes Mike, into the steak place, and he's showing him like, hey, this is a steak, and this is this snake, and and Mike's kind of looking like, oh, cool, but he knows what's really gonna go down, and so he's just kind of like, okay, and he doesn't have anything with him, or he doesn't have a weapon with him or nothing, so anyway, apparently, as he's showing him like the things, he's showing him the aisles or whatever, Lindley comes in, and she passed him straight up. She goes straight by him, and she's like, he saw her pass, and they're at the like end of the place, and I don't know how it happens, because he said he couldn't tell what happened, but all of a sudden, Mike Humphrey says he hears a shot pop, and then he like runs out, and he hears several more, and Ben was shot 7 times in his back and 1 time at close range in his head. And I do believe that she did it. I don't believe Mike did it. He had nothing to gain from it. He was just a guy, an old boyfriend she elicited help from. So that happens. She takes care of business. They go back out to the car. Let's go. They got to go now. They flee back to the spa, which was 45 minutes away. That Mike guy's like, he said he's freaked out. He's like, I don't want to see y'all ever again, man. I mean, you crazy, and she takes a shower at her spa, and she dumps her clothes. I mean, she wasn't dumb, and so at that point she goes back she goes from her spa back to the steak business, steak farm, and now she goes and picks up her kids, because she knows what she's done, and she knows Ben can't do it, and so she has to act like she's just found him, and so she comes across his body. Oh my God, it's putting on a big performative show. I can't believe it, and she calls this brother, right, and brings him over. Poor guy, he's brought into this mess, and has to see his brother there on the ground, and he first thinks that he was bit by a snake. They all think he's been attacked by a snake, and that's what happened. No one can believe that she did it, and until they have more evidence. So that's the first theory. He got bit by a snake. And Sam is just he's been put through this, and so the police come, the coroner comes, he notices a shell casing on a shelf above her, and he notices divots into the floor. So he's like, this ain't no snake bite, this is someone shot him, and so at that point it's now a homicide. They brought Lindley in several times. She denies everything. She actually implicates his brother in it, when she knew it wasn't him, poor guy, and his brother was all so cooperative, but she lies every time, right? Until there's a guy that she after she murders her husband Ben, there's a guy named Brandon Blackwell, and she met him off a dating site. She was also sleeping with Ben Blackwell during her marriage. And so he kind of seemed like a bad boy, and but he wasn't the only one. There was another guy that she did marketing with, and his name was Eric Timmers, I believe, and she was doing like marketing with him, and her office manager said they were spending too much money on that marketing, and Lindley did admit to having sexual, outside marital affairs. And she said she was sleeping with Eric 2 times a month or whatever. During the trial, he was married, and he said that they would do it at the spa. They would have, sex at the spa. And this is, again, during the marriage of Ben. And then after the murder, they were having sex in the car. So you know, again, if money and status, you know, because I think she moved out of the house, but if money and status, she went from having sex at her spa, who Ben provided that spa, a beautiful spa, but here she is thanking him by having sex with a guy in there all the time, you know, while they're married, while Ben is complaining about being in a sexless marriage. Okay, now let's go back to, again, this is not to out these guys. These are cautionary tales that y'all should learn from, and these guys should not have been treated like this. But Mike Williams, what was he complaining about just before his murder? He was complaining to the guy who murdered him that he was in a sexless marriage. And this is often said, you know, and I do believe it to a certain degree, is if your wife, well, first of all, if your wife's not having sex with you, she doesn't like you, first of all. Now, secondly, I think this is often true, is if your wife's not having sex with you, she's having sex with somebody else. Okay, you know, now that's not always true, and don't go snooping, you know, you don't even need to know. Because if she's not, the point is that she's not having sex with you. So that's done already. You don't need to know if she is or not. It's already, she should be having, whatever. Not should be, but, you know, if you're in a good relationship, in a good marriage, then she will be having sex with you. So that's just that point, right? But too often they're not. But anyway, so yeah, so after that, you know, they talked to Brandon. He gets arrested for, I guess, assault on Lindley. I think she lied about it. But supposedly he assaulted her, like pulled her arm or some crap. I think it was BS. And then she got a protective order. Well, he violated the protective order 14 times. He violates the protective order 14 times. So, I guess one of the times he violates it, they put him in jail. And he's sitting there in jail, and he's mad because, you know, she's obviously, you know, gotten him in trouble. And she's told him everything about what she did to Ben. And he has all the info because he wants to know, right? And him and the Eric guy, you know, those were you know, her sexual affair partners. And so he tells the police. I think he reaches out to police, or they may have reached out to him, but that's not important. So they go and interview him, and they say, you know, what's the deal? What do you know? And he says, well, Lindley told me that she was the person that shot her husband, and you know, she also told him about the poisoning incident. I mean, she knew everything, and you know, so he just lays it out. You know, this is what happened. You know, she went with Michael Humphrey and did it, and you know, like I said, lays it out. You know, for everyone to see, and you know, so after that, you know, the police think they got, you know, they got that, and so, and I think he was telling the truth. Now, they tried to make it seem in trial that, you know, he was just trying to get back at Liv. Nah, come on. You know, his story was pretty in line with the other evidence. So, at that point, they arrest her, and she's put on trial. And, you know, talk about manipulation, talk about, you know, the crying, I'm so sorry, I should have done it. Oh, and another important point is, and this is cautionary tale, gentlemen, is marriage. You know, getting married, you know, makes, I would say, alpha seed. And because she ended up getting the farm. The farm's hers through the marriage. And she sold the farm that had been in their family forever. And the farm that Sam, her older brother, was living on. And she sells it right out from under him. Like, you know, I mean, she has no ties to this farm, other than the fact that, you know, she manipulated the brother into marrying him. So, yep, sells the farm right out from under Sam. She wouldn't let, you know, Sam's, you know, his older brother see the kids, the grandkids. I mean, I tell you, and this is not to this degree, but when women don't like you, they're just, you know, they can't care less. They don't care. You know, they're ruthless. You know, it's not to this degree, to so much at times, but, you know, they're going to look out for themselves. And again, it's a feature, not a bug. I talk about it all the time. And in this dating stuff and this relationship stuff, people should not think of good and bad. They should just, how are people operating to their agenda. People have agendas. You have an agenda. I have an agenda. Everybody has an agenda. And you'll work hard to get your agenda done. They'll work hard to get theirs. But she didn't break any rules. She got married to Ben and got the farm, and she had a right to sell it. So you got to be smart. That's the game. This whole I lost half my stuff. Well, we all know community property states are going to lose half your stuff. So take care of your marriage. Be Alpha Seed. This ain't no joke. Men got to stop the complaining and blaming and take the responsibility. The locus of control is you. There's two types of locus of control in your life. It's either outside yourself or inside yourself. You can either do things to affect your world, or the world could be affected on you. And people who believe they have no control in the world often are depressed. I'm a psychology major, psychology 101. Believe that you can control. So if you lose your job, you do things to get another one, when bad things are going on in your life, you develop yourself in a different way. You change yourself in a different way. And that's how, I came in relationships. I wanted to learn. I wanted to, discover how to be better. So, because I felt that I could, be the person in control. And it's helped. For me, it's helped. What else do we need to know? So she sells a farm. Michael Humphreys is arrested. He's charged with murder. And he was given a life sentence. And that's when he's in jail too, going, you know what? I'm going to tell them what happened, what really happened. And so he says Lindley did it. Now, part of the reason she got a lighter sentence was, I think the jurors had a hard time believing this cute little girl could do that to her husband. They really did, because Michael Humphrey's kind of a bigger guy, and he was a meth addict / meth dealer. He's had run-ins with the law, so you can see how you can see him doing it. But this cute girl, she could play that game, and she played that game well. But she was a ruthless son of a gun, dude. Shot her husband in the back 7 times and 1 time in the head at close range. And he provided a house. He provided a 70-acre farm. Her kids, her stepson, and his daughter were well taken care of. His business was booming. He had just received a $200,000 payment on the $1.2 million sale of his steaks. And it was gonna keep going. Like, he was gonna keep, and so that had no impact on, obviously, on her desire to sleep with him, on her desire to stay with him, and her desire to work on the relationship. Like I said, if money is status were those things that women that cause women to stay or whatever, then he would have no problem. But it's not, and they're so unimpressed with it, when they just are unimpressed. They're unimpressed with your ability to provide. They will give you a pat on the back and they'll say thank you. They'll give you a little snow cone treat or something. But a lot of men think that they should give them their lives. They should be indebted to them in gratitude. Because if a man, if men, we think it from our perspective. If I did that, I'd be grateful. Well, you ain't a woman. They just don't care. And I can't tell you why or why not, but they don't. So just know that they don't. And this is the 5th case where a very successful, very high status individual in his field, like Ben was the highest status in his field. Dan Markel was highest status in his field. These are movers and shakers in their field, high status, and money. They all had money, and so and all their wives were having affairs. All of them were in sexless marriages, and they were all beta male providers. That's a pattern. There's too many coincidences, and there's more cases. I'm going to be bringing more I mean, I just found 2 yesterday. There's just a preview, I guess. There was an anesthesiologist, a doctor, ends up having this is an assault of his wife on some mountain tourism area of Hawaii. They're on some hike, and he hits her in the head with a rock. And apparently, he did it because she attacked him. Whatever. We don't need to worry about the details. We'll worry about later. But basically, prior to that, he's busted her in a sexual affair with someone at her job, and she's been it rocked him. It rocked him, right? And so he's been trying to work it out with her, and this beta male thinks that if he controls the situation, quit your job and don't talk to that guy ever again. That's bad advice, but we'll get into that later. But my point, I'm just telling this as a preview, is, he's on trial right now, I believe for attempted murder. But, so yeah, and because he couldn't take the fact that supposedly on this hike, she told him that she wanted to keep working, and she wanted to keep, working with her boss, or I think her boss or whatever, the guy she really liked. And he did something that I say don't do, is don't go snooping. Don't go looking for this stuff. If you believe it's happening, it's happening. He went to WhatsApp and found a bunch of stuff. And I'm sure there are racy pictures, racy messages, and that rocked him again. So again, he's in all this and he's a doctor, an anesthesiologist, make bank. They make bank, trust me. And so, but that's not who she's sleeping with. And again, that's preview on that, but that's another case. I mean, they're happening daily. They're happening. These cases of beta males getting their butts handed to them, and some other guy getting the best of her, in the way he would want to get the best of her, So, but yeah. So anyway, like I say, these are cautionary tales. It is not rewarded. It may have been in the past. It's not anymore. No one cares about the beta male provider. You're nice, you're great, but you got to do work on yourself. Figure out how to become the alpha seed. The blueprint. I think it's pretty obvious, but you got to get your mind right. You got to know who the hell you are. You got to stand on business. Know your identity. Know what you want, what you don't want, and do whatever you want. Because you're a moral person, a person of character, and you live life on your terms. And if anyone wants to get in your life, they live life on your terms. And you can stand on that. You don't need to do anything extra for ladies. You are a prize to be around. Be a prize to be around. Get jacked on your body, and work on that, mindset too. It's not just about looks and working out the gym. You have to have the mindset. You gotta have the mindset. So I think that's everything on the Ben Rennick case. But there you go. Once again, the beta male plow horse not respected in this day and age, and that's where we'll leave it.